Once upon a time, in a vast forest full of chatter and rustling leaves, there lived a tiny fly named Zippy. Zippy was the smallest fly in the forest, but she had the biggest heart. She loved flying through the forest, buzzing from tree to tree, always listening to the sounds around her. The birds sang sweet songs, the breeze whispered through the leaves, and the animals chattered as they went about their day. Zippy felt at home in the forest symphony, and she couldn't imagine a day without it. One sunny morning, Zippy flew to her favorite oak tree, but when she landed on the branch, something felt strange. There was no wind blowing. There were no birds singing. The usual rustling of the leaves was gone. Everything was completely still. Zippy looked around, confused. She zipped through the air, flying faster and faster, trying to find something, anything that would make a sound, but there was nothing. What's happening? Where has all the noise gone? Zippy wondered aloud. She buzzed nervously, feeling a little anxious. She had never known the forest to be so silent. Determined to find answers, Zippy flew deeper into the forest. As she flew through the trees, she spotted a wise old owl perched high on a branch. The owl's large golden eyes glimmered in the sunlight as Zippy approached. "Mr. Owl," Zippy called out, "can you help me? The forest is so quiet today. What happened to all the sounds?" The owl blinked slowly, as if considering her question. Then he spoke in his deep, calm voice. Little fly, the forest is not changed, but perhaps you have. The silence you hear is not the absence of sound, but the result of being too caught up in the noise. The forest has been waiting for us to listen closely again, but we've all been too busy with our own distractions." Zippy tilted her head, puzzled. "But Mr. Owl, how do I bring the sounds back? I miss the singing birds and the gentle breeze." The owl nodded knowingly. "The sounds are still here, little one. They never left. But you must first learn to listen to the quiet, to the stillness. Only then will you hear the whispers of the forest that are hidden beneath the noise." Zippy thought about the owl's words as she continued her journey deeper into the forest. The trees around her were tall and silent, their leaves frozen in place. The path seemed darker now, without the usual chatter of the forest to guide her. She felt alone, but the owl's words echoed in her mind. "You must listen carefully." After a long time of flying in silence, Zippy landed on a mossy rock and closed her tiny eyes. She took a deep breath, trying to quiet her busy mind. At first, there was nothing, just the sound of her own wings. But then, slowly, Zippy began to hear the faintest noises. The wind was barely stirring the leaves, but it was there. The soft rustle of a squirrel's tail brushing against the bark could be heard. A distant stream murmured gently, and far above, a bird's song, barely a whisper, drifted through the air. Zippy opened her eyes wide, realizing the sounds had never disappeared. They had simply been hidden beneath the constant noise and hustle of the forest. The forest wasn't silent. It was simply waiting for someone to listen. Excited, Zippy zipped through the trees, her wings fluttering with joy. As she flew from tree to tree, the sounds of the forest grew clearer. The birds began to sing louder, the breeze picked up speed, and the leaves rustled once more. It was as if the forest had come alive again. Zippy returned to the wise old owl, her wings buzzing with excitement. "Mr. Owl, I did it. I listened, and now the sounds are back. The forest is alive again." The owl smiled warmly. "You have learned an important lesson, little fly. The sounds of the world are always around us, but sometimes we must pause and listen carefully to hear them. Quiet moments are just as valuable as noisy ones, for in the silence, there is much to be discovered." Zippy nodded, understanding now. "I will never take the sounds of the forest for granted again. I will listen, not just to the noise, but to the quiet too." From that day on, Zippy flew through the forest with new eyes and ears. She would pause often, listening to the soft murmurs of nature, appreciating the gentle whispers of the wind, the quiet footsteps of the animals, and the distant songs of the birds. She knew now that even in the silence, there was always beauty to be found. And so, the forest remained alive, not just in its sounds, but in the hearts of those who took the time to listen.